The North Indian state of Haryana is voting for assembly elections, and the voter turnout in state stands at 36.69% as of 1 p.m. In this multi-party contest, polling began at 7 a.m. local time and will close at 6 p.m. Votes will be counted on October 8th. The election is a crucial test for all parties. The ruling BJP is pulling out all stops to stay in power for a third term. Haryana CM and BJP candidate from Ladwa hits out at Congress after casting his vote, saying that Congress's poll promises are not concrete. On the other hand, the opposition Congress party is eyeing a return to power after 10 years. Meanwhile, the Aam Aadmi Party is looking to solidify its presence and see some of its power spill into the state that shares borders with the national capital. Over 20 million people are eligible to exercise their franchise for 90 assembly constituencies in the state. According to election officials, more than 20,600 polling booths have been set up across constituencies. Voters casting their ballot have a long list of choices. There are 1,031 candidates in the fray, out of which 930 are men and 101 are women. And to give us more details, we are now being joined by our correspondent Dharamjot Kaur, who's joining us from Jalana. Dharamjot, first up, tell me, what is the latest that you have from this very, very interesting elections in the state of Haryana that we are seeing today?
Well, Isha, it's peak afternoon, so as far as voter turnout is concerned, the latest data tells us that it's just under 37% across the state. That's the average we're talking about. Of course, some constituencies are seeing a higher voter turnout percentage of over 41 to 42%. But it remains to be seen how high this goes, because usually what happens as far as voting trends go, we have a large number of people turning out early in the morning. And as it is peak afternoon right now, given the heat and the high temperature, we're seeing a lull in terms of the number of people coming out to cast their ballot. But of course, this is going to change again later in the evening between 5 to 7 p.m., the last couple hours of voting, where more people end up coming out, given that the weather is more conducive at the point as well. So this is where things are. But the energy is high. This is a very crucial election for Haryana, Isha. We're looking at a very tough contest between the BJP, the Congress that's looking to come back after 10 long years. We're looking at the Aam Aadmi Party, who's trying to solidify its presence here, given its proximity to the national capital and how long it's been in power in Delhi. And we're also looking at regional parties who are seeking to make a presence, at least in some constituencies, which would be critical in determining which bigger party ends up forming the government, Isha, because we've been seeing in the last election that the regional parties ended up becoming the kingmaker in terms of whether the BJP or the Congress, whoever they formed an alliance with, that party ended up forming the state government. So indeed a very high stakes election out here, Isha.
Have you been able to speak to someone, to voters around you, and what is it that they are voting on the basis of? What is it that they expect from the leaders?
Well, so Isha, this conversation will come down to two things. The fault lines of Haryana are very, very interesting. The first aspect, we have very clear demarcation between caste vote. There's a non-Jat segment versus the Jat segment, given that Haryana is preliminary a Jat dominant state. But the fault lines also get blurred because people from both these communities are majorly employed in the agrarian sector, because Haryana is one of the key agriculture states of India, given that it's part of the main northern belt from which most of the agricultural produce goes across the entire country. So we have overlapping, because of these overlapping identities that we're talking about, the issues also tend to blur a lot of lines in terms of, if any one community has certain party allegiances, those get blurred in the process. For example, there are a lot of issues that have been simmering over the past few years that many people are saying maybe the reason that Haryana is facing a bit of an anti-incumbency wave. So given a rise in unemployment, which is not only a national concern, it's also a concern here in Haryana, given the fact that beyond the agrarian sector, a lot of non-agriculture industries are suffering a setback. Having said that, there are many constituencies in this particular state which are facing issues like, drinking proper, safe drinking water, a depleting water table, given, as we mentioned, that this is a farm-heavy state. There are other issues along lines of schemes that have been passed in the few years. We saw how Haryana was a big part of the farmers' protest in 2020-2021, and even a small agitation that is still going on at the Haryana-Punjab border. So agrarian issues, again, they've been piling up, and a lot of them remain unsolved. We're well aware that Haryana is a state where a lot of sports persons come from and they represent the country, especially the wrestlers. And we saw how the wrestlers' protest, even though it was in the capital, it was focused on a lot of female wrestlers and athletes from the state of Haryana. So all of these issues, Isha, have piled up and will play a major role in terms of how the mandate of this election turns out. And it will also be setting the tone for the upcoming state elections in Haryana, in Maharashtra, in Jharkhand, and next year in Delhi, which is also going to be a very, very crucial election.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Dharamjot, for joining us with those updates. For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.